right. No idea if this is working. It's going to be noisy while I get the microphone set here. Of course, it wants to get hung on every little thing. Okay. Hit the set screw there. That didn't work. Spider basket's a little bit jank. Okay, so no idea if that's going to work. No idea if any of you can hear me. Let me just aloha. If anybody's out there doing a live stream, we're going to look at the GTX 480, 10 years old, just a couple days ago. I think it was the 13th of April that it was released. Somebody in the comments, go ahead and let me know if I'm correct on that one. Let's see if I can get my pop filter. There we go. All right, let me take a look at the stream and see if everything's working. Okay. All right, so all of my screens are faced away from me. I don't have the best setup for streaming right now, so I'm just using a cell phone and a laptop to try to get this done. I'm going to go ahead and fire up our test system here. This is pretty lights. This is speaking of lights, I got lights. Hold on. Boom. Bright lights. How's that making it look? It's a little bit brighter. A little bit brighter. This thing plugged in. Yep. Okay. All right. So it's going to be tough for me to interact on the stream. I know that's the thing the kids do these days is do the comments and the whatnot in the chat on the stream. I'll try to hop up back and forth, answer a few if I can. I don't have anybody down here to help me. I'm Mike. I'm in my basement. I'm in the underbelly of the YouTube algorithm, going live. I'm live on Facebook too. You can find my Facebook page at Solid State Alchemy. This is my channel, Solid State Alchemy. And the AC just went on. So if you're on Facebook, you probably can't hear me. If you're on YouTube, you can because of this handy dandy mic, I hope. Let me know in the comments if Facebook is like unintelligible. Yeah, so today, I was down here messing around with this thing, talking to my folks on Discord about, different benchmarks I was running or games I was trying to run on a GTX 480. It's Nvidia's flagship GPU from about 10 years ago, almost to the day today. It was a meme generator. It's very hot and very loud, and you're going to see that in the stream once this thing kicks up and once MSI Afterburner fires up here. Then, you guys will be able to hear the glory of the I typed that in wrong. You will hear the glory of this blower card at full song. It's pretty noisy. I measured about 20 inches away from the front of it with my cell phone dB meter, and it measures 55 dB from about 20 inches away on an open air case. So, and that's at like 90%, 95% fan speed. So yeah, it's loud. I got my giant ultra wide 1440p panel here. I'm not going to try to run any of these games at 1440p. We're going to look at the Outer Worlds. We're going to look at Ghost Recon Wildlands. We'll look at Rainbow Six Siege. Hopefully I can get CSGO to work. It was being kind of sketchy yesterday with this graphics card. The Witcher 3, we'll run that. And, we'll just get the elephant out of the room. It's all going to be at the lowest settings possible. And very few of these are going to run at 1080p at 30 frames a second. The surprise is over, but we're going to see how it does. We might have to go below 1080p on a couple of these games. So starting off the row here, let's go to GOG. And let's do this Witcher 3 thing here. Now, I have the Microsoft Xbox Game Pass for PC, and last night that was also giving me a bit of trouble. So we may not be able to get to the Outer Worlds. I'm hoping that we will, that will be a thing that, Microsoft figured out. It's, yesterday was like my billing cycle switchover day. So I don't know if maybe, the check was in the digital mail and it hadn't cleared or what. I'll give that a look. I literally just walked down here and fired up the live stream. So kind of going into this blind. That's the way we do things here. All right. So Witcher 3 popping up. 2,700 or 2,200 frames per second on the intro there. That's pretty intense. You can hear the fans starting to get louder. Let me get over here and make sure the Afterburner profile is running. It is. All right, we're at 54 degrees Celsius. A pretty strong fan profile. So earlier in the testing, I must have tripped some kind of safety in the VRM temps or one of the temperature sensors on the card. I had it at what I considered still a fairly aggressive fan profile, and it throttled down to 405 megahertz, and it would not go past that, and that required a deletion of all drivers. I actually tried to use this card. This card busted. I did like just a quick and dirty refurb on these, blew out the dust and changed the thermal pads and the CPU paste on this card and that card. And this one has memory artifacting. I'm not sure what's causing that. I might go through and give it an even more thorough cleaning. It's still got a bit of gunk here and there on it, and that might just be what it needs. There might just be some bit of there goes the fan. Can you hear that? Might just need some bit of something's causing a short somewhere, a bit of dust or dirt or something conductive in there. And just go in there and give it a really good thorough scrub. Now we're going to go into options, and we're going to go into video and graphics. So right now we're at 1080p, windowed, low settings, and post-processing is also at low. I'm even going to turn bloom off. And vignetting off. Everything that I can possibly turn off is going to be off at 1080p windowed. And back one more, and continue. This is a pretty new installation of this game, so I'm just right here in the first little town, right after you see that griffin, and you fight off a couple of the hellhound type deals. So I think we're going to eke out like a 30 frame per second in my benchmark. Basically what I do for this benchmark is I just look. There goes the fan. Woo! Spinny. It matches it's like sound effect for the trees blowing on the screen here. All right, so I'm going to start the benchmark, and then I'm just going to take Roach out here through the town, out, past some of the NPCs, and they're gonna yell ugly things at him, and try to keep the frame so that I'm getting trees blowing in the wind. I got clouds up there, NPCs in frame close enough for them to like kind of interact a little bit. And once I get out of the town, I pick up the canter here all the way out to this little farmstead just over the bridge, and then I loop it around the backside of the farmstead, and bring him through some wheat. Make sure you get some good foliage in there blowing around. All right, bring him back down to a trot. I always try to run him through this white tree here. I don't know why. It seems like it makes it graphically harder. You can always hear it spool up a lot when you're coming through this wheat here. And then once I get through the wheat, turn it back towards town. You can see we're at 46, 45 FPS in this portion right here. So then back on the bridge, and then a gallop. I'm going to take the town at a gallop on the way back in. Past more of the NPCs. Try to run down the chickens. And then we will look at our capture by MSI and Riva Tuner here. And that got us 45 frames per second, minimum average frame rate, and a 1% lows. The 1% lows are a little bit rough. It's basically 17 FPS. That's a 0.1% low, but the 1% low is 35. So, I mean, you tell me, what do you think? Could you play Witcher 3 at 1080p low at 45 frames a second? Let's talk about, just real quick, talk about some of the value proposition here. Both of these cards together, I bought them as a lot. So I got one working card, one non-working card. It's $20 total. These are not expensive cards today, but they have needs, right? A lot of them are going to need refurbishing, or at least like resetting of the thermal paste and the thermal pads. The thermal pads on these things were just a shambles. They were absolutely falling apart. So you're probably going to be out probably $10-15 in materials to take these all apart, put good quality thermal paste and thermal pads back in them. Then you're going to need a pretty nice power supply, right? So you're going to need probably at least a 550 watt to run one of these. If I wanted to run these in SLI, this 750, to me, in my mind, that's like the bare minimum that I would even think about running these in SLI on this system. This is a Ryzen 5 1600 AF, 6-core, 12 threads. I think it's 65 watt TDP, maybe 90 watt TDP. It's somewhere in there. It's not super high. It's definitely below 100 watts TDP. So you're 100 watts, max on the CPU. Throw in, the peripherals, another 25, 35 watts. You're at 125 watts. You need at least 250 a card at full chat. Actually, we can maybe bring that up next. Let's just throw a little stress. So that's Witcher 3, 45 frames a second. And that was our average, 45 frames a second, and 30. You're in the 30s for the minimums, except for the 0.1% was like 17%. Right. So now you can hear it dialing down. Let me just take a quick look at my feed and see if it's still going. And if anybody's asking any questions. All right, I got 2 watching on the Facebooks. Hello, Allison and Kristen. Yeah, how much wattage is this thing going to draw from the wall, right? Now, granted, the sensor technology on this GPU is definitely not like, what would you say? Not, well, yeah, it doesn't even have, I don't have a kilowatt to measure from the wall wattage, and this GPU does not have. It's got voltages, it's got temperatures, fan speed, clocks, memory, processor. It does not tell us system power consumption on, at least on hardware monitor. But yeah, this CPU is definitely or is probably a 65 watt part because it's pulling like 13 watts at idle. Yeah, interesting. I thought that the 400 series cards had some kind of power consumption tracker in them, but evidently, let's check MSI Afterburner and see if it's got anything to say. It gives us voltages and clocks, but I don't think it's going to give us wattage or power. Temperatures, usages, CPU power. Yeah. Yeah, voltage is the best that we can get. Okay, well, so that idea is scrubbed. I can't measure voltage on what this system's actually drawing because there's no, or not voltage. I can't measure wattage because there's no power consumption sensor for that GPU that's on board to kind of tell me. Some of the more modern GPUs have that. I'm not saying it's 100% accurate, but they do have it. I don't have a kilowatt to go over and look at the wall and see how much power is coming out of there. But again, you know, for headroom or just a little bit of breathing room, I would say 750 is probably the bare minimum that you would want to run two of these on. 550 is probably fine for a single. So, and 550 is basically like, that's pretty much bog standard nowadays. Nobody tries to play PC games with a 400. Well, I don't say nobody. Nobody who's serious about their rig is going to put a 400 watt rig in there. I mean, maybe a 400 watt EVGA, if you're running something like a 1650 is fine, but not for this. So there are needs. That's what I was trying to get to. You know, you need a good case that's got good cooling because this thing's hot. Of course, it's not an issue right now because I'm open air, and you're going to need a good power supply. But you know, could you play at 45 frames a second? Well, maybe Witcher 3 isn't like the perfect. I mean, it's a little bit older of a game now, so let's see if my Xbox beta will let me into the Outer Worlds. It was giving me fits last night, so maybe last night it would just go, okay, so we're in. Evidently, the check to Microsoft, Bill Gates and the lizard people have received my money, and now I am allowed to play my game. Yeah, 1300 FPS in the intro. So yeah, right here, this thing, freaking awesome. All right. So first thing we're going to do is we're going to go into settings because I want to get this to windowed. And we're just going to go to 100% resolution at 720p. I'm going to apply that. I'm going to keep that. I'm going to raise the frame limit to 60 FPS. And then we're going to go back. And we're going to continue. And, I was just out here messing around, playing this. So it's kind of weird. I don't know if it's the ultra wide monitor or if it's the game itself or the way this card, the ultra wide monitor and the game, that trifecta interact. But when I put it in windowed mode, I can't get like this. I can't get as many standard definitions as you would normally expect to see in the game, right? So here we are, 720p, 100% resolution scaling, low settings, and it looks like we're going to get about 50 frames a second or so. Just going to meander around here, see if I can find a marauder maybe to shoot at. Yeah, and there, whoo, yes, spool it up. That thing is, it's humming over there. Oh yeah, let me, let's just keep a check on our temps here and see what we got going on. So we are at 66 degrees Celsius right now at 91% fan speed. So, is this even sustainable for this card? Once you get above, I would say once you get to in the 80s consistently, which you will probably do if you have a case with crap airflow. Here we go. I got a marauder here, a little hooligan. Let's see how bad my gameplay skills are. And sniping. Woo. He didn't go down. Hammering these fools. Oh, he's hammering me back. Oh, he got me. Yeah, kind of awkward playing here, looking right, having the stuff over here. But that was playable. I mean, that was me that got killed. It wasn't my crappy frame rate or anything like that, right? So, so here's another new title. Maybe we can't play this in 1080p. I'm going to go into the settings and see if we can maybe ratchet this up to 1080p here. That's the closest I can get it to. So 1707 by 1066. Strange resolution, right? I don't know. That doesn't ring a bell to me as a standard resolution for a video game. Maybe it is, and I'm just out of the loop. But that seems fairly close to 1920 by 1080p. It's an approximation. We've got 100% resolution scaling. Let's apply that. Oh boy, that's no good. Abort. Okay, so let's go to windowed full screen and no. Okay, so it will let me do full screen 1080p, which seems strange because this is not a 1080p full screen monitor. It's not a it's a 1080p ultra wide. You can set it to that, but probably going to look kind of wonky. We're going to play it anyway. We're going to let it roll. And head back to our game here. And I'll just head back to those same marauders. Okay, so now we're down to 30. We're down in the 30s. So 1080p. Now, granted, this, like I said, this is this full screen on an ultra wide 1440p monitor. So if this was on a true 1080p size, standard 16 by 9 instead of 21 by 9, it might be doing even a little bit better with the frame rate. But even now, 33 FPS, cinematic, as they say, cinematic 30 FPS. We'll see what happens once I get into a little bit of a scrap with these Marauders. They'll probably kill me again for sure. So let's see if I can put the sneak on these guys a little bit here. Still at 34 FPS. All right, I got a good crouch here behind this rock. Give me a little bit of cover. Straight up pat this dude in the dome. Ooh, he moved. So we're still, we're just under 30 FPS now. Boom, gotcha. All right, one's down. We're at 33 FPS here. Bavardi's racking up some kills. He's down. So yeah, we're hovering right around 30. I am a terrible shot. All right. So, all right, a little bit of a scrap there, walking around. 1080p, it's a weird 1080p. Probably a little bit better if it was on a standard aspect ratio monitor. But yeah, 30 frames a second on the Outer Worlds. And the Outer Worlds actually still looks pretty good. I think that style of animation still looks, still pops even at low graphical presets. So 1080p low, playable. I mean, you could get by with a GTX 480 in 2020. That is crazy to say. A 10-year-old graphics card can play pretty brand. I think Outer Worlds, it's on the cusp of a 2019, 2020 release. It's a pretty new game. Interesting. I didn't really, and that's the whole reason I popped this onto this Ryzen 5. I originally popped this onto the rig from my last video, the Intel 980X, i7 980X, because I was going to do a video about how well does a 10-year-old $1,500 gaming rig perform in 2020, but I realized that this card actually still performed surprisingly well. So I put it onto my Ryzen rig because I could use my full test suite of games. My MBR hard drive that I use for the older CPUs and older motherboards doesn't have nearly as many games on it. It's only a 500 gig, and this is a 2 terabyte Seagate that we're running on here. So we're going to move on from the Outer Worlds. I'd say that's a win. I think we fluttered, right around the 30 FPS mark there for pretty much that entire firefight. So I'm going to check the comments here and see if there's another game you guys want to see played here. I want to see how terrible I am at gaming. Let's see what's going on in the comments. Nothing's going on in the comments here. Allison and Kristen are still watching my Facebook stream. Thank you, I guess. Thank you for that support. I appreciate that. Yeah, nobody on the Facebook live stream here. Viewer. I'm not Facebook, the YouTube live stream. Nobody's out there in YouTube land. That's cool. I guess I'm assuming YouTube saves this, for lowly plebs like myself who are in the underbelly of the YouTube algorithm. I guess that my video eventually gets posted, or my live video eventually gets posted. Oh yeah, here's no, hold on. Actually, yeah, I haven't tried to play F1 on this. This is the game I attempted to play yesterday, and Microsoft said my money was no good here. So yeah, this app can't open. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It'll play Outer Worlds, but it won't play. It won't play F1 for some reason. I'm not sure what's going on there. Will it play Dirt Rally 2? I played that yesterday. Yeah, Dirt Rally 2. Here we go. Yeah, so Xbox Game Pass for PC has some problems. It's got some problems. It's not well sorted yet. I guess that's why it's a beta. I'll definitely stick to Steam, or even Origins or Epic. I think have their kind of like their whole deal sorted out better than Microsoft does at this point. All right, Dirt Rally 2.0. This game's pretty well known for being able to run basically on a potato. And this is a pretty potatoy computer at this point. 10-year-old hardware. Let's see. We'll go to free play. Like the historic ones. We'll resume that. And then we'll check out our graphics settings and see what we got going on here. Yeah, I am playing these on Amazon Basics keyboard and mouse, right? So there's no gaming hardware. You can hear the sound coming out of my headphones here because they're open back and I'm not wearing them. Let's go to options and see where I'm at here. Graphics. So we're at a windowed 900p, which is kind of what we're splitting the difference between 1080 and 720 at this point. And then everything is as low or off as we can get it right now. Track, medium, low. Everything low. Low, or off. Okay. And that looks like it's getting us 70 frames a second. I'm not sure if that's true. Yeah, 89 frames a second. Here we go. How terrible am I at driving with a keyboard? Oh, pretty terrible. Pretty terrible. And I'm off. Get back up there. Let's go. Come on. You know what? Yeah. So, still, we're looking at 90, 100 frames a second. I think we could probably bring this these graphical settings up a little bit if we wanted to see how good we could get it to how close we could get it to 60 frames a second and still keep our eye candy. Whoa! We got caught up talking. I'm just going to recover the vehicle again. This is not for time. I don't know what's going on now. F2, there we go. Yeah, 100 frames a second. Not bad at all. 900p, so we're splitting the difference. So we probably could go, if this offers me the option, to 1080p actually resolution if it's in the windowed options for this game, and that would still keep us above 60 frames a second. So Dirt Rally 2.0 looking pretty good for the GTX 480 here. Yeah, surprising how well this old GPU is still handling these games that are 10 years old or 10 years newer than it is. One of the reasons it's able to do that, so when the GTX 480 was released, it was the API it used was DirectX 10. But, AMD's over there with fine wine, and Nvidia said, hold my beer. They kept releasing DirectX API updates in driver updates. So in 2017, 7 years basically after this card was released, Nvidia just kind of quietly released a new driver package that gave this card the capability to do DirectX 11 and 12-ish sort of. Not really. It's more just DirectX 11. I think it can possibly do some really, it can meet some of the requirements of DirectX 12, but I don't think it's capable of meeting all of them. It's like a provisional DirectX 12. But what that really means is that, instead of, when you go to buy a new game or run a new game, you don't get told like straight up, hey, your hardware is incompatible with this game. It lets your GTX 480 give it the old college try there, even if it's going to be outgunned with its pretty pathetic by today's standards clock speed. 700 is the standard clock speed. I think it's 701 technically. I have this one with a really slight overclock, 781, so like a 10% overclock. I was able to get pretty stable. And like 100 megahertz on the RAM. Speaking of RAM, VRAM on the card, also pretty pathetic by today's standards. This is what really, really holds the GPU back from really being able to perform adequately, I would say, in 2020 is the lack of VRAM. It only has 1.5 gigs of VRAM, which is just not enough today to load up all of the graphical, all the textures and modeling that goes on in these newer, more intricate gaming worlds. It just can't hold all that data in RAM, in the frame buffer. It just doesn't have the space. It doesn't have the room. And so you get weird stuff happening, and maybe I'll try to actually get that to happen on a game here. You get really bad pop-in, where you'll be walking along, and suddenly a feature that was in the world that wasn't there a second ago is now 3 feet ahead of your character because the card just ran out of room to hold that feature in the frame buffer, and it finally got around to finally got enough room to pull it through, and it suddenly renders it right in front of you. It will do that if you turn the graphics settings up here. It will get to the point where it just cannot really keep up with the amount of data that's being thrown at it. Yeah, so I guess that's like the biggest thing I would say. There's really no chance of you ever really being able to play many of these games at anything above low settings. No matter, even if they released a new driver tomorrow, and even if game developers, all collectively released patches that optimized for this card tomorrow, I just really, the physical limitation of the low clock speed and the, lack of VRAM is going to make it to where, eventually, we're not there yet. Amazingly, we are not there yet. But eventually, you're going to get to the point where it physically can't play the game. Like, it's just the pop-in's too bad, the stutter's too bad, the textures are too much for it to hold. It can't hold them all, and it makes the game just miserable to play. If and when that happens, I don't think it's very far away, honestly. I don't think that circumstance is too terribly far from today. We're not there today, though. As you can see, I'm playing Dirt Rally 2, fairly modern game. I know this isn't like, a 2020 title or anything, but this is still much newer game than this GPU is, and I am still playing this at 100 frames a second, 900p low settings, and I'm having a good time. Actually, this is fun. Like I know because I've played this on other hardware that this game can be much more graphically stunning than what I'm looking at right now. Like, yeah, I got it. There we go. Woo. But it's still fun. Like, and maybe it's because I grew up playing games that were just, maybe it's because I grew up playing games that, were just blocks on blocks, right? Tecmo Bowl or whatever. That doesn't bother me as much as it bothers maybe my son, who is used to games that are, beautiful, beautifully rendered, play smooth. He's a little bit of a frame snob because he's younger, because that's what he grew up with. I grew up with, 8-bit game systems. So maybe that's why it doesn't affect me much. Maybe that's why I still think, this old hardware is still worth taking a look at. So let's see if we can we change this in game? I think I can. Can we get to 1920 by 1080 windowed? We can. So let's see if we can apply that. Actually dropped our fan speed down considerably. Okay. And continue. And so 1920 by 1080p on Dirt Rally 2. We're still in the 70s, 80s even. And this is at low settings. Yeah, it dips down to about 70 FPS here and there. But now we're up in the 90s, so still smooth. Still smooth. 1080p, low, Dirt Rally 2. Still playing on a GTX 480. 10 years later. 10 years after the card's release. So that's fun. 100 frames a second there, 102. I could probably turn the graphics settings up on this. So that's interesting. Yeah, you could probably get to 1080p. I don't know if you could get to medium again with the VRAM limitation. It's just too much. There's just, once you start loading in the texture packs that game has on this card, especially for that stage there with the jungle and the trees and the leaves and the grass and whatnot. Once you start trying to make that look like actual grass instead of a green rasterized panel, it's gonna start running out of steam pretty quick. It might do it. I'm not going to subject you to me playing more Dirt Rally 2 though, and my terrible driving. So what else should we play here? What do you guys want to see? What do I have that will actually run without will Gears 5 run? Let's see if we can run the benchmark in Gears 5. Oh, well, it's not installed. That's awesome. Well, maybe it is installed. Okay. Let's just run the anti-cheat. Yeah, let's. This is a pretty new game too, right? This is still not a 2020 release. It's still pretty close, so late 2019. We'll see if it'll run on this old warhorse. We have detected that you may encounter problems playing the game. Your PC does not meet the minimum requirements in the following areas, error codes, and okay. So right away, not looking promising on the and it also doesn't like the graphics driver because it has known compatibility problems with this game. So not looking promising for Gears 5 with the GTX 480. You know, Gears, the game says, hey, 2 gigabytes basically minimum bar to entry here. And it also says, hey, your driver's like from 2018 and it's probably a no-go. So it's going to be interesting to see where this gets us to. Still loading in. Big stutter there. Big stutters all over the place. Oh, did it totally freeze? It might have totally frozen. So maybe not Gears 5. Maybe, yeah, it just said no. So Gears 5 is a no-go. All right. So that's our first like out and out fail, right? That means we're 3 out of 4 right now. Not too shabby still for a 10-year-old game. Let's see if I haven't played this game. I had to rebuild my hard drive. I lost all of my data. The install of my Windows corrupted. I had some bad sectors. And when I reinstalled everything, for whatever reason, like none of my previous games were in my Microsoft account, or it wouldn't sync to my new install of Windows. So like I haven't played Kingdom Come Deliverance since I had to rebuild the hard drive, you know, re-download every single game, do a complete full refresh of Windows. I had to plug it into a different computer and like overwrite the entire drive with zeros. That took like 3.5 hours to do on a 2 terabyte drive. So yeah. Yep. Yes. Yes, I am me. And yes, let's play Kingdom Come Deliverance. All right. Maybe it's going to boot up here. That's a good time to check the feeds here. And nobody on my YouTube. Still kind of disheartening. I wish I had a better camera. Anyway. And had 2 people on Facebooks. Let me see if I can tell the Discord folks that I'm live now. How's my battery holding out? Says I got about another 2 hours of battery life here. Yeah, so again, haven't played it since reinstalled. So having to go through. So press E here. Get out of this. All right. New game. Normal mode. Oh, I didn't look at the graphics settings. We'll do that once we get in the game. So we are in windowed, which is good that it started that way at least, because it knows that this poor card shouldn't be doing anything with ultra wide. Yes, yes. Skip a bit, brother. At least we got 60 FPS on the intro cinematics. It's always worse than when you're testing hardware and you can't maintain 60 on the intro video, because that's it's a bad sign, right? You definitely want to be able to keep that going. So yeah, riveting, right? This is riveting content for you guys. Silver scalets. Yep. Would let us get through here. Just a little skip. Nothing. Nope. Skip part. Skip all. Yes. Starting to load up the VRAM here. 1100 megabytes of VRAM. We're at like, yeah. All right. So 36 frames per second in the build your character. Not looking promising. I always go with agility. That's just my thing. Dancing. Ooh, Lord. 40 frames a second, but oh, it is like hot and heavy over there with the fan speed. What do we got going on with these temperatures? We're 64 degrees. We're at 86% on the fan curve. All right. Go to the sword fighting lesson. We're just going to take a quick look around here in the room, and then also we need to look at our settings. What am I even at right now? Graphics settings. Resolution. What is it? 720 to 1080p? I think it's doing okay, here. 1920 by 1080. Okay, 1920 by 1080. And then upscaling 980p to 1080p. Upscaling 720p to 1080p. 1600 by 1050, 1600 by 1024, 1440 by 1900 is what we'll go with. All right. So that puts us at 980p or 900p right there. We'll split the difference between 720 and 1080. And now we're going to have a walk about. So this is 900p low. And we're getting in the 60s, barely. 59, 60 frames a second. 70 degrees Celsius. It is about 21 degrees Celsius in this room. This is an open air test bench. So you're pretty close to 50 degrees Celsius over ambient on the core right now. That's terrible. So the only real way I know of to whip this beast when it comes to temps is to put a full coverage water block on it. So if you see this video, if you find it after the fact, after the stream is over, or if you find it before my stream ends, and you want me to I have a full coverage water block for this GPU. If you think that that's a good idea, I'll have to kind of rig something together as far as an open or a loop for it here on the table I think I have a pump and a reservoir hanging about that I could use. But yeah, let's see. Let's just go punch this guy in the head and see what happens. Oh, he didn't like that. My wounds, my stamina, my health. All right. That lasted a little bit longer than it should have. But yeah. Whoa, Jesus. 980p, 50. We'll call it 50, 52 frames a second. Still playable. 900p. So splitting the difference between 1080 and 720. There's probably some more demanding areas of the game that would cause that frame rate to get a little bit janky. You know, if you had multiple enemies on the screen, you had some fire effects and whatnot, smoke. But 900p low, I think, gets you close enough to 60 frames a second in Kingdom Come Deliverance to where, yeah, you can still game on this GTX 480. That's pretty crazy. So I think that's about all for the stream. I think it's pretty safe to say that the majority of new games on the market today can be played to some extent on a GTX 480 without it looking like a complete slideshow, which is pretty surprising. But there are drawbacks, you know, and you know that you're playing on borrowed time. It's going to come. The day's going to come where, like, well, it's already coming, right? Gears 5, no go, right? So the newest of the new games, some of the newest games won't do it. Drivers are too old. The VRAM's too small. So it's creeping in, right? It's creeping into territory of no longer supported, and it's going to become a retro only gaming video card, which I guess there is a place for. But you know, if I was going to build a retro rig, I can think of half a dozen video cards I would choose before I chose a GTX 480, and that's mostly because of the power and the heat consumption issues, right? You know, if you just have an urgent need to use an Nvidia product, you know, I would think that there are better choices even. But as far as, you know, old school video cards, I would probably go with like a 7970. It's a couple years newer than a GTX 480. Yeah, or even something like a 3870 or a 4870, HD 4870. I think it runs a little cooler. Power consumption still pretty immense. But yeah, there are different cards that would do the same performance and also have, I don't know if it's similar. I don't know if you could get an HD 4870 for $10, which is basically what I got this GTX 480 for. And maybe that's a really good deal. Maybe I just, you know, beat the market on that one. I haven't really looked hard in the last couple weeks to see what these go for, like on eBay. just go in and look at the completed listings. But definitely a card, a noteworthy card, for its time. I think this is what they call a Fermi. This is the introduction to Fermi. And it was a powerhouse of its day. It's still fairly capable even today. And yeah, I mean, if it's the choice of having no GPU or this GPU, then you spend your $10 or $20 if you can get it for that, right? And you have good airflow and a good power supply in your build, then you could limp along with this as like a backup card, maybe in case your card has to be RMA'd or whatever. It has kind of weird. That's the other thing. Let's talk about just the card in general, right? You heard the loudness, so it's loud. So if you have a case with good airflow, that also usually means you're going to hear this card, right? It's a blower model. It's not the best cooler in the world. It gets really, really hot, as you saw, unless you have it just spun up to the 9s. 8-pin connector and a 6-pin connector. And the I/O is kind of weird. So it's got two DVI ports and this little guy, which is strange. And I'm using this on this card. I'm using this mini HDMI. Not something that really caught on. This is usually the domain of like video camcorders and point and shoot cameras. Will you sometimes have micro HDMI outs. It's not something that you run into, and it definitely didn't last very long on GPUs. Matter of fact, I have a whole host of GPUs over here, and very, very few of them have a mini HDMI out. This might be the only one. I'd have to go and look, but I would say that it's probably, if I have another one with an HDMI out, it's probably the only other one that's not a GTX 480. So yeah, that's the live stream. 10-year look back at the GTX 480 from Nvidia. Let me know in the comments if you liked this video. Make a comment if you want me to do a second round with some different games. If you have a game in particular you'd like to see if this card plays and what it plays it at, I'd be more than happy to throw that up on a live stream. No problem. And come join my Discord. I'll put a first comment in there. I'll try to put a link, an invite link to my Discord. I'll put that on my Facebook live stream as well. And I love to interact with anybody who likes this channel. Yeah, so that's pretty much it. I'm Mike. This is Solid State Alchemy. This is my first live stream. Woo! I don't know if you can see me. I still have no idea where the frame is on these things because I'm using, crap. This is a crap channel with crap equipment in a basement with super old GPUs. And on that bombshell, I'm going to check the feed one more time, see if there are any questions or comments to address, and then I'm going to wrap it up. Ooh, that's nice. So nobody's on YouTube and Facebook. I had a few on Facebook. Did anybody? I have to wiggle Facebook around. Sorry, Facebook, you're going to get wiggly. I'm going to wave at everybody. Woo, waving. I don't know how to see if there are comments. It doesn't look like there are comments. Cool. Well, hey, that's it, guys. I'm Mike. This is Solid State Alchemy. That's a GTX 480 humming along in 2020, 10 years after the fact. Bye.